We are 9 days away from the start of the NFL season. Pro football is almost back, so it's time for some NFL talk, where there will be predictions abound, but there's also questions that need to be answered. So we're going to answer some of the biggest questions heading into this NFL season. We're going to do it with the great NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy, who joins me now. Ryan, what's going on? Are you excited that football's almost here?
I am. I'm looking forward to it. I do love training camp, though, so I'll shed a tear for the end of that.
All right, shedding a tear for the end of training camp. Probably not the preseason games, I'm assuming. You probably could pass on those. Yeah, I had a feeling you could pass on those. But we'll shed a tear for the end of training camp season about to begin. And Ryan, let's start with the defending champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Defending back-to-back champions, Kansas City Chiefs. Got to put some respect on their name. Now, Mahomes and company, they're looking to win it all again with the revamped wide receiver core. So, Ryan, can the Chiefs become the first team in the Super Bowl era to three-peat? Can it happen?
Yeah, Dex, I have a story coming out next week for the Post where I talked to people from the 8 teams prior who have had that chance to go back to back to back and didn't. And they seem to like the Chiefs' chances of all the guys who have been in this position before basically said you need the coach, the quarterback, and stability. And the Chiefs have all three, right? They have they have Andy Reid back on the sidelines. They have the great magician Patrick Mahomes. They have a healthy Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. They have the same coordinators, Steve Spagnuolo. Yeah, I like their chances to do it as much as anybody's chances to do it. It's certainly better than it's no worse than like a 1 in 5 chance probably.
All right, gotta like those odds there. If you want to back the Chiefs, pretty interesting there. We'll see if they're able to make it 3 in a row. So when you look at the Chiefs, Ryan, as a team to beat in the AFC, we should also look at who can knock them off their throne. Is it the Texans? Is it the Ravens? Could it be the Jets? So, Ryan, which AFC team in your eyes is the biggest threat to the Chiefs?
I think it's the Jets, right? I think that's crazy to say, but I think it's the Jets because Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be afraid of anybody. They have talent on everywhere. They can win a game defense. They can win a game with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. If the Jets are healthy, and that's going to be the big thing, obviously, it's going to be the big thing for all these teams. But I honestly think it's the Jets. I think they're the second most talented team, probably. So I would go them. I think you hit on the other ones. Probably the Ravens, number 2. The Texans, they haven't been there before. They have tons of talent. Probably them 3, maybe I'm trying to make sure I don't miss it, but maybe the Bills 4. Probably those are the top 4 teams.
All right, so those are your top 4, but you like the Jets as the biggest threat to the Chiefs there. Let's go over to the NFC, the Super Bowl runner-up, San Francisco 49ers. They've got a lot of questions, right? Brandon Ayuk, situation still not figured out. Same for Trent Williams. Those situations yet to be resolved. Are the Niners on the same level as we've seen them the past few years?
If those situations get resolved, Dex, I think you answered it in the question. Like if Trent Williams is there and playing at the level he's expected, if Brandon Ayuk is there and as good as he was last season. Remember, last season was kind of his breakout year. So like if he's that good and he's there, and if Trent Williams is there, we know Trent Williams is willing to sit out seasons or sit out long stretches. He did it with Washington early in his career when he had a contract standoff. So if those guys are there, yes. And even if they're not, they're at the level of they're still the second or third best team in the NFC, even if they do have some question marks. The NFC just isn't as deep as the AFC. So even if the 49ers took some hits, they're right there with the Eagles and Cowboys and Lions. They're even if they're not at full strength, they're still in that power group.
All right, so still got them up there. Now, you just mentioned the Cowboys, and this is going to make my producer, Brian, very happy. We're going to talk about America's team, a.k.a. the Cowboys. So back in January, Jerry Jones said the Dallas will be all in for the 2024 season. The team, pretty quiet in free agency, right, Ryan? Yeah. They did just lock up CeeDee Lamb, but we still have contract drama that looms for Dak Prescott. Are we going to see a different Cowboys team in 2024 that could get back to the NFC Championship game?
No, I think you're going to see the exact same Cowboys team, a team that either wins one playoff game or no playoff games, wins 10 or 11 or 12 games in the regular season, maybe wins in the first round and loses in the divisional playoffs. I mean, that's who they are. They're one of the 4 best teams in the NFC. And I guess if they stay healthy and everybody else is injured, maybe, but they are who they are. They're the 4th best team in the NFC. They are who they've been for the last 5 years, basically. They're the 4th best team or the 3rd best team in the NFC. Dak Prescott Prescott obviously has a contract issue here that's going to loom over the season. Micah Parsons has one coming now that CeeDee Lamb is done. So the Cowboys certainly have their issues, but they're a super talented team. They have the right pieces in the right places. They have receivers, offensive line, quarterback. That's what you need to win in this league. McCarthy's a good regular season coach. I think they'll be an 11 or 12 win team that wins one or two playoff games. Wins a playoff game, advances to the second round, and gets knocked out there.
This is not good news for my producer Brian and the rest of Cowboys Nation. They're not happy about that.
I know, Dex, I know some Giants fans who would kill for that season.
Yeah, I think I know some too. I think I know some too as well. We'll get to the Giants in 1 second. So let's end with some questions about the local teams. Ryan, we're going to start with the Jets, who you mentioned before. Aaron Rodgers back under center. We know the Jets defense, as you said, should be really good. However, the Bills, they've been running things in the AFC East. They've won 4 straight division titles. Can Rodgers and the Jets bump the Bills and win the AFC East?
I think a really underplayed storyline of the offseason is how much worse the Bills got. And this is what happens when you start to pay your quarterback these enormous salaries. And it's why Aaron Rodgers not playing for what he's really worth is a big deal for the Jets. Josh Allen, as he should, signed his big contract. And so all of a sudden, Stephon Diggs is gone. Micah Hyde is gone. Jordan Poyer's gone. The Bills, the cast, the offensive line that changes, the core of that team that should have been to a Super Bowl by now, it has broken up, and now even more than ever is on Josh Allen. Do I think they'll get back there? Yes, eventually, but I think this could be a big step back for the Bills. And don't sleep on the Dolphins. I mean, they'll be right there too. This is a 3-horse race in this division. Wouldn't be surprised if all 3 make the playoffs. But yeah, I'd give the edge to the Jets.
All right, giving the edge to the Jets in the AFC East. Last thing for me, Ryan. Let's talk about the Giants, because there's been a lot of talk about quarterback Daniel Jones making his return after his ACL injury last year. Now, Danny Dimes, he hasn't always had a great deal of playmakers, around him in his career. But last year, Big Blue grabbed receiver Jalen Hyatt in the 3rd round. They took Malik Neighbors with the 6th overall pick this year. Does Jones now have enough talent at receiver or playmakers in general to be successful?
For him to be successful, maybe, yeah. I mean, I think he has unquestionably the best receiving core he's ever had. Malik Neighbors is going to be a stud. He has the best offensive line he's had, and you don't hear me wrong. I didn't say he has a good offensive line. He has the best offensive line he's ever had, probably an average one. Once you have 2 tackles that can play, you can get by on the offensive line. Giants have their best tackle combination in probably a decade. So, yes, I think he has some pieces. The running game is going to be worse. I know Giants fans want to roll their eyes, but they are going to miss Saquon Barkley making something out of nothing in the run game. It's a better pass-blocking O-line, I think, than a run-blocking O-line. And the defense is a major question mark. The secondary, specifically, Giants' defensive strength is pass rush. Well, if you're losing a lot of games early, your pass rush opportunities become limited, and you play a lot of catch-up, and that's what the Giants could end up doing.
Let me ask you this, Ryan, as a quick follow-up to that, with all that being said about the Giants and the fact that you do think that Daniel Jones has some more weapons around him, and you have some concerns about the defense. What do you think this Giants team is this year? Because I was talking with a Giants fan earlier, and he tells me he thinks they could win 7 or more games. He says their ceiling could even be as high as 9 wins. Where are you on what the Giants could do in 2024?
Yeah, you might want to cut me off here, Dex. I think they're a 5 or 6 win team. Like I said, they reshuffled the deck. So they have different strengths than they had last year. I don't know that the overall talent is better than last year. In fact, I would probably say the overall talent is equal to or slightly worse than last year. It's a younger team. So, the long-term vision is there, but, the immediate payoff, I think they have a lot of young players in a lot of spots, and the overall talent level, while reshuffled, I'm not sure is better. But you could rest your eyes on Malik Neighbors having, a 1,200-yard season and delivering highlights and losses is probably what I would say to Giants fans. I think it's probably a 5 or 6 win team.
All right, there you go. Ryan Dunleavy giving the Giants fans some hope, keeping it real. Some Giants fans a little bit more optimistic about how Big Blue will be this season. That is the great Ryan Dunleavy. Does a fantastic job covering the NFL for the New York Post. Check it out. Ryan, I appreciate the time and you going with some of the burning questions around the NFL as we are just 9 days away from the start of the season. Thank you, my friend.
Thanks, Dex. I'm going to get back to playing with my toy kitchen over there now.
Yes, and for the record, I would never cut you off. I wouldn't do that. Giants fans, they might want to cut you off, but I would never do that, just to let you know. Thank you, man.